So, mit Ton ist natürlich immer besser.
How many times must I tell you? You must never put your life on the line for me.
Mother has always had a fascination for Lord Mortimer, but has never wanted to tell me why.
We are doing our utmost to find your mother as quickly as possible.
Without your mother, hundreds of men of the cloth would have gone to the guillotine.
All I can tell you is I'm looking for my sister.
Do you believe your mother capable of torturing a child?
An agreement for cannons. Lord Mortimer assured me that you are to take over the project on behalf of your mother.
Johann Christoph von Wollner, Minister of Religious Affairs, and Jacques Peroux, French Revolutionary Tribunal Judge. You will find that Lord Mortimer is not what one would call conventional, Monsieur de Richet.
I do apologize for being late. I was obliged to clear up some urgent business.
At last we meet, Monsieur de Richet. Do you mind if I call you Louis?
Please do.
Thank you. I wish to apologize wholeheartedly, Louis. I made you cross the seas, and I wasn't even here to welcome you. When I asked you to join us here, it was, of course, in the hope that you would help us find your mother. Unfortunately, I am now confronted with another problem, which I would rather have done without. You see, last night, Miss Adams also went missing.
Ach.
And why is that? Can you tell me more?
I have had my people searching for her all over the island. Alas, to no avail. It so happens that both her mental and her physical health are extremely fragile. I'm worried that the same thing happened to her as to your mother. Also, I would appreciate it very much if you could tell me what you were doing on the floor in her room in the early hours
It's
of
quite
the
normal.
morning.
I can explain everything.
Was haben wir da gemacht?
Well, I'm glad to hear it. You see, Sir Gregory is about to arrive, and he's taken Elizabeth's disappearance very, very seriously. Please reassure him so that we can talk about your mother.
William, I would like to see you a moment before we begin. In private.
Let's step outside a moment. Louis, this will only take a few moments.
All right, let's take this chance to look around.
Ist das ein Beo? Na, Harry? Waldo? Nein, du heißt Harry.
A nightmare painted by Fuseli in 1781.
Enthält Zeugenaussagen der Gäste Bonaparte und Hillsborough. Aussage von Napoleon Bonaparte. Auf die Frage, was haben Sie gestern getan?
Please, sit back down, Louis.
This sort of behavior is not working in your favor, young man.
Was für ein Verhalten?
Louis told me we
Ich hab
needn't
gar nichts
be
gemacht.
concerned.
Of course. Monsieur de Richet, the situation seems to escape your grasp, so I won't beat about the bush. Did you kill Elizabeth Adams?
What? Elizabeth is dead?
No. Now let us remain calm. We do not yet know, Gregory, precisely what has happened to our poor Elizabeth.
I beg your pardon? So what are you accusing me of then?
We must remain calm, Gregory. We have found no evidence that would suggest that Elizabeth has been murdered. For the time being, she has only disappeared. Let's stick to the facts, if you please.
Well, where is she then?
Technically, I'm simply incapable of telling you where she might be. And we never talked about her destination. What I can say is that the last time I saw Elizabeth, she was in her room, and she just decided to leave the island.
Gregory, you must admit that just because Louis doesn't know where Elizabeth is, does not prove that something's happened to her.
Damnation, William. This is a fiasco. Sir, you don't seem to realize just how serious this is.
Let's try and remain calm, Gregory. In any case, it would be far better if Elizabeth really has left the island, as Louis says. Why do you think she wanted to leave?
She was persuaded she was going to die. When she saw that you had invited my mother, she thought that you wanted to put an end to her. She felt betrayed.
But why didn't she speak to me about it?
Elizabeth had nothing to fear from us. You know very well who she was afraid of, but you don't dare say.
She couldn't bear it anymore. She was becoming hysterical and drinking heavily. She was panic-stricken at the thought of staying here, and I didn't know she wasn't allowed to leave.
It's not that she was a prisoner here, Louis, but Elizabeth is mentally very fragile, and I fear she might do something terrible to herself or others. She wasn't ready, and you have made a grave mistake by encouraging her.
William, don't justify yourself. You won't even answer the question. What is the real reason, Monsieur de Richet? Monsieur de Richet, we have given you every opportunity to reassure us as to the fate of Elizabeth. You have only succeeded in plunging yourself into deeper trouble. I will never rest until we are certain that Elizabeth is indeed alive.
I
Ja,
assure
geh
you.
mir doch nicht auf die Eier, Typ,
We
ey.
are obliged to believe you for the moment. Consequently, I shall make you a promise in return. If ever we find out that anything has happened to poor Elizabeth, I shall personally see to it that your
Ja, vielleicht
head
hast
will
du dir ja
land
auch
in a
was
basket.
getan.
You don't need us for any of this. So come along, Monsieur Peru. We are leaving.
Vogel.
Right. It's time we spoke about your mother, Louis.
She seems to be making every effort to steer clear of your guests.
What do you mean?
For the past few weeks, my mother's been playing cat and mouse, if you will. I don't know why, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that she's trying to avoid someone. The question is, who?
And in your opinion, would she be the cat or the mouse?
Also ich denke schon, dass die eher eine Katze ist. Aber wahrscheinlich in diesem Fall eher die Maus.
I like to answer the cat, but unfortunately I'm increasingly worried that she's in fact the mouse.
Na, wie
That
geht's
doesn't make me
dir?
feel any better, Louis.
What was the official reason why my mother came to your
Alles
island?
klar bei dir?
I knew about your mother's activities and yours in the Golden Order. I thought we had everything to gain by working together.
You mean the canon deal with Monsieur Bonaparte?
Among others, yes. How did you hear about that?
Monsieur Bonaparte came to speak to me about it yesterday, during lunch.
I see. So impetuous. He was supposed to let me speak to you about it first. Our friend Napoleon desperately needed financial backing to properly equip his army. I took it upon myself to back him because I have a firm conviction that he can go far.
We shall see. However, there's one thing that surprises me. Did my mother intend to finance a war? I'm not sure that I follow.
No, your mother's aim was not so much to partake in a war, but rather to make Monsieur Bonaparte accountable. France is in turmoil, and having support of a military man can often come in handy, Louis. You'll see. Once this deal was closed, I had big plans for Sarah.
Such as what?
You see, I've invited several influential figures on my island to present them with a project at the conference. It will be presented later today. I thought that the Golden Order had a role to play, and I still think so. I was hoping Sarah would be able to join us.
I see.
Indeed, if by chance your mother decided not to return to us before the conference, would you do me the great honor of attending? If only to follow the deliberations while waiting for her to duly take her seat.
Why not? We shall see.
Ah, thank you so much. In this way, you'll be able to keep your mother informed of what he said. There's something else I'd like to briefly go over. Earlier, you asked me the official reason for your mother's presence here. Is there an off-the-record reason?
Ja,
why
Sam
you're
und
not
Max, das muss ich noch aufnehmen. Die zweite
Only my
Staffel,
mother
also
trusted me, but she remained
zweite
very
Season,
mysterious.
Sam und Max.
I'd have been delighted to answer your question.
Ich wollte
here?
dich
Is this
mal
usual for her?
als
As head of the
Moderator
order, secrets are
hinzufügen.
her bread and butter, as you can imagine. That said, it's the first time she hasn't let me in on the reason for her trip. And it intrigues me, to tell you the truth.
Ja,
Well, I'm
Expedition
sure
33
explain
habe ich ja
everything
immer noch
about
nicht
your
angefangen.
affairs. There's something I still don't get. In your opinion, why would your mother remain in hiding over several weeks?
Keine Ahnung, wieso die sich versteckt, weil die irgendwem nicht traut da wahrscheinlich. Oder sie hat was entdeckt, das wäre natürlich auch möglich. Ich denke aber, es ist...
Her not coming back to the manor after so long makes me wonder if she's wary of someone.
Well, certainly. But whom? The only ones who were present during her stay were Sir Gregory, Duchess Hillsborough, Mr. von Wollner, and myself.
Tja, weiß ich nicht. Mortimer war
My
sehr
lord,
misstrauisch,
I'm
oder?
obliged to ask this question, but please don't take offense to it.
Ah, you wondered if Sarah was wary of me. It just so happens that I've been asking myself the very same question. Because I can't explain why Sarah didn't come to see me, knowing how influential I am.
Kein
But to your
Thema.
point, I can't imagine she would be.
Tun wir uns doch
Although I am
gegenseitig
obviously
den Gefallen,
the best
weißt du?
person to answer that question.
Thank you. I had to ask.
The only thing I can tell you is that Sarah had indeed changed. At the beginning of her stay here, we enjoyed spending time together, solving the world's problems.
Ist schon komisch, dass der Typ da, also irgendwie, warum hat die denn nichts gesagt zu dem?
You seem to know my mother very well, my lord. What did you talk about together?
Oh, as soon as we had a little free time, we liked to share points of view about practically any subject. We would find ourselves embarked on interminable discussions that could go from
Monsieur Blanchard's flight in a hot air balloon, to the Treaty of Jassy, or the adoption of the metric system in France last year, or even Mr. Eli Whitney's invention in the United States.
Kann ich beides nicht nehmen. Das ist blöd.
My mother must have undoubtedly taken great pleasure in these exchanges. She always was one to appreciate broadening her knowledge. I'm surprised she didn't get you started on the Crusades. It was her favorite subject.
Are you joking? Sarah and I spent entire days together reliving them. It so happens that the Crusades are also my subject of predilection, especially the third. My ancestor distinguished himself brilliantly during the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre.
Belesenheit haben wir noch nicht erreicht. Wir sind noch nicht schlau genug.
Not my chosen field.
Well, it doesn't matter. You have plenty of time to learn. Your mother is a very well-read woman. You're quite lucky to have her as a model, Louis.
Yes, I know. But I'm still very worried.
I must admit, there are worse things to worry about now, Louis.
What do you mean?
Since she disappeared, your mother has been seen once. Her
Aha.
behavior on the evening of your arrival greatly surprised Gregory and myself. She resurfaced to attack Emma, Emily Hillsborough's twin sister. And she shot her with a pistol. Then, before Gregory could intervene, she ran off and disappeared again.
I beg your pardon? Hang on. That means my vision on the wharf, it was actually happening inside the manor. Mother shot Emily's sister? The very person she came looking for? Why would she do that?
Was geht denn da vor sich, ey?
Between that and the childhood of Lady Adams, it's all a bit much for me to cope with. I need to piece it all together again to see things more clearly. You said that you spent a lot of time talking together at the beginning. What happened for that to change?
I'm afraid I haven't much to tell you. The more the days went by, the more she withdrew into herself. She never gave me an explanation. Until the day came when she purely and simply disappeared.
Where did she go when she wanted to be alone?
She would shut herself away in a room we use as a box room upstairs.
Would you allow me to go there?
Naturally, Louis, of course. I'll send you a servant to open it.
Thank you.
One last thing, although I don't know if there is a connection.
I'm listening.
Boah, das kannst du laut sagen, ey.
The other night near the wharf. Nothing serious, just a few small things damaged.
Das waren
Sorry,
wir,
my
ja.
lord, but I was searching for leads to my mother. I thought I was hot on her trail and didn't take any precautions.
Well, you could have reported it to a servant. But never mind. I shall put it down to your ardor and anxiety. However, please try to respect my estate in future.
I certainly will. Please accept my sincerest apologies.
That's all I can tell you about the disappearance of your mother, Louis. I would like to have been more helpful.
I shall stay on her trail and follow up any leads.
Thank you. We will meet later on to welcome our last guest. In the meantime, I shall get someone to open the box room upstairs for you.
Thank you.
Ja, ja, mach das mal. Guter Plan, Mortimer.
The room was just opposite Mortimer's study.
So, Mortimers Arbeitszimmer. Halbkreisschlüssel, wofür soll der denn gut sein? So, was ist das hier? Emilys Zimmer. Was ist das?
Duke Manuel Godoy.
Ist das auf? Nee. Hier oben sind doch nur Zimmer, ne? Das ist unser Zimmer. Müssen wir wohl nach unten. Was ist das für eine Treppe? Kommen wir nicht hin. Heute? Wie viele lädst du denn heute noch hoch? Wieso kann ich denn nicht nach unten gehen? Hast du dir mal überlegt, immer ein bisschen Pause zu lassen zwischen zwei Videos? Weil 2 Videos kann YouTube ja so pushen, aber wenn du, dass du zum Beispiel in der Woche montags und vielleicht samstags eins hochlädst jeweils, dann haben die ein bisschen mehr Zeit, weißt du? Okay, also ich kann ja irgendwie nicht runter. So, und das Arbeitszimmer? Klischees, Vorhof, roter Saal, Bibliothek, Porträt. Bonaparte-Zimmer. Wo ist denn das blöde Arbeitszimmer? Sehr merkwürdig. George Washington. Hier können wir auch nicht rein. So, hier kommen wir auch nicht runter. Johann von Wöllner.
St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. Caravaggio attained a magnificent command of black and the play of colors too.
Da wirst du noch zum Kunstexperten, ey.
Of his illusions being raised and receives the light from his savior. is this disc?
Ja, dir auch noch einen schönen Abend. Pass auf dich auf, ne?
Dante's Paradise.
Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays.
Warum klang das jetzt so komisch? Danke dir. Dante's Paradise.
There are burnt papers in the chimney. There's a legible fragment left. Hey, I recognize my mother's handwriting. She says we must find a safer way to communicate. Someone is onto us. Trust in my faith in the man with the sword. So Mother had an accomplice here. Who could it be?
Who could it
Who could
be?
she be suspicious of? I must find the next part. Faith, sword. I recognize your love of riddles there. Door appears to be locked on the other side. I think I heard something fall to the ground. A metallic sound, like a key falling to the floor. We'll see if it works. It's
Den
open.
Trick kennen wir doch aus Phantasmagoria.
A chest with the occult symbol representing air. The New Testament.
Was?
And it came to pass in those days that Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in Jordan.
Können wir den jetzt die halbe Bibel vorlesen lassen?
St. John, painted by Guido Reni.
Der heilige Johannes, das war, glaube ich, der jüngste Apostel, ne?
Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. It looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the apostles by Guido Reni. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the apostles by Guido Reni.
A fragment of amber.
Sehr gut.
St. Paul painted by Guido Rini. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean? So we have the figure 11 twice underlined, and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. A text on Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11. But what's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with the figure, maybe? So we have the figure 11 twice underlined, and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. A text on Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11. But what's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with the figure, maybe? St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame.
Haben
Let's
Sie
take a closer look.
Vertrauen
This is how
in meinen
Paul spoke to his
Glauben
pilgrims from
an
Rome.
den Mann mit dem
Just above that,
Schwert?
someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean?
Ja. Wir müssen bestimmt
So we have the figure
also
11 twice
das
underlined,
Bild bewegen.
and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. A text. Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11. But what's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with the figure, maybe? A chest with the occult symbol representing air.
Schwierigkeit 7, ey.
Dante's Paradise.
Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays.
Okay, rauskommen wir auch nicht. Bin mir ziemlich sicher, man muss irgendwie was mit dem Bild machen. Aber das geht nicht. Weil... Geht nicht. Sind wir noch nicht. Schlau genug für.
Painting of Saint Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Reni.
Welches war das nochmal? Das da.
Saint Paul painted by Guido Reni. Saint Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. I don't know, what does that mean?
Sehr merkwürdig. Haben wir das hier schon angeguckt?
The drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel.
Ja, keine Ahnung. Suche nach Hinweisen. Ich weiß nicht. Ich finde hier jetzt nicht mehr. Das haben wir alles schon angeklickt. Das auch. Das auch. Raus können wir immer noch nicht. Tja, also, ich habe keine Ahnung. Wir kommen nicht aus dem Raum raus. Ich finde auch nichts mehr zum Anklicken. Und mit dem Bild kann ich nichts anderes machen.
St. Paul painted by Guido Rini.
Doch, jetzt kann ich das machen. Aber das habe ich ja schon gemacht. Das kann ich nicht.
Of the 4 apostles shown in this piece, Paul is the only one who isn't an evangelist. He is the 13th apostle. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean? So we have the figure 11 twice underlined, and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. A text on Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11. But what's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with the figure, maybe? Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Rini. A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Rini. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel.
Ja, keine Ahnung, Kapitel, nimmer.
Then they suborned men, which said, "We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God."
Weiß ich nicht. Keine Ahnung. Bin ich zu blöd für dieses Rätsel? Wahrscheinlich.
I guess I'll just come back later.
Also. Gut, ich habe gedacht, ne, weil der ja eben was von 11 Aposteln und dann 13 Aposteln, habe ich gedacht, da steht vielleicht was in der Bibel. Aber da steht ja irgendwie jetzt auch nichts drin. So, das haben wir alle schon angeguckt.
Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Rini. It looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust.
Nee, das war das Falsche. Hier ist auch nichts.
Paul painted by Guido Rini. Of the 4 apostles shown in this piece, Paul is the only one who isn't an evangelist. He is the 13th apostle.
Ja, und? Das haben wir ja schon gemacht. Das können wir nicht.
So we have
Ich habe keine
figure
Ahnung.
11 twice underlined, and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. The text on Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11. But what's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with the figure, maybe?
Oh Jemine, weiß ich nicht. Ich glaube, wir hängen fest.
St. Paul on the road to Damascus, by Caravaggio. St. Paul is the only saint to be presented twice in these paintings, contrary to the other apostles. How come?
Das hat bestimmt irgendwas mit der Bibel zu tun, ey.
I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. Oh wait, a note from Mother is carefully folded between the pages here. What does it say?
Dear E, I'm glad you found this note. I was afraid the code of the 2 groups of pilgrims would mislead you. Pick up the package. You know where, and hide it where no one will find it. It's imperative. Awaiting your reply, hidden behind the youngest apostle.
What? The youngest apostle? What does
Johannes.
Mother mean by that?
Das ist Johannes.
And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and a half a time, from the face of the serpent. Hey, a new note. It's been folded carefully in the corner of this page. The writing, it's not my mother's. S. I found the book in your effects. I've concealed it where no one can get their hands on it. I can assure you, awaiting your instructions, I will hear your reply like he who hears the angel. Hears the angel? What does that mean? Oh, it's probably the place where she was expecting to get the location of the next note.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean?
Man kann das echt schlecht lesen. Nee.
Because we look not at the
Nein.
things that are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law with one another. Why do ye not rather suffer injustice? Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Ah, look, here's a message. It is of paramount importance that no one finds it. Watch out for the Prussian. He's on the trail. Let's meet up. I'll leave it to you to organize the rendezvous. Not today. I'm unable to do it. In the meantime, I'll follow the first group to Mark, who will reveal the answer to them.
And that first group of pilgrims, how many are there now? If I refer to the chapter I'm reading at the moment, 6.
Okay.
St. John is the only apostle painted in this gallery who hasn't got a beard. Hey, wait! That means it's him. He's the youngest apostle. Right. This painting is therefore associated with the answer which E had to give to my mother. Now, I just need to know how to recover the answer. The painting looks like it's been taken down recently. But wasn't my mother said that she would wait for an answer hidden behind the apostle? Ah, of course. There's something written behind the painting. On the second day, the pilgrims will listen to the prophecy of the young apostle. They shall add 1 companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their rank. What does it mean? They should add a companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their ranks. I imagine it applies to their code, the one Mother set up with the pilgrims. What's this? A group of pilgrims who Paul was talking to, and now John is telling them prophecies? On the second day, the pilgrims will listen to the prophecy of the young apostle. They shall add 1 companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their rank. What does it mean? And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they were made ready, he fell into a trance. Hey, there's a note here. A message from Mother in reply to E. We must leave urgently, but first I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare. Watch out for Volner. He figured out I was avoiding him. Allay suspicion. See you tomorrow evening. Stand ready. For now, let's cease all communication until we meet. Take care of yourself. I suppose this must be the last message. What happened afterward? If it's what I suspect, I fear the worst.
Yes.
What does Mother mean by I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare? I must go beyond the nightmare. What does she mean by that?
Keine Ahnung. Wahrscheinlich meint sie es ja nicht wörtlich, ne?
I'm guessing it's a metaphor. I need to figure out what this means. Mortimer's getting his guests together. I ought to join them so I don't look suspicious.
Das freut mich. Welche Lektüre sollen wir denn nehmen? Wissenschaft, Kunst, Politik, Etikette. Schwierig, schwierig. So.
It's time I went back and joined everyone in the small salon.
Ich bin ja schon längst suspicious. Wie sieht das denn hier aus hier? Heb mal das Handtuch da auf, Typ.
You are expected in the small salon, sir.
Okay, wo ist der? Ups.
Emily, I must speak to you.
What's the matter, Louis?
I have news about your sister.
What have you found out?
Look, I've started piecing together the events leading up to my mother's disappearance and your sister's. Did my mother know about your secret?
Yes, even though I belong to the English chapter, her rank in the Order gives her access to a good deal of personal information.
Must have been Emma I saw in my vision.
I was given to understand that my mother and your sister bonded during their stay. I've got a question that might seem a little bit strange.
I'm listening.
If I said go beyond the nightmare, would that ring any bells?
No, means nothing to me. Do you mean literally or figuratively speaking?
It might be a place, I don't know where, but it's a lead.
You ought to ask His Eminence. He knows the house and its estate very well, being a frequent visitor here.
Thanks for the advice.
Should I speak to her about my vision? If what I saw is true, she might want to take revenge.
Emily, there's something else.
Go on then.
It's about your sister. I don't know what happened exactly, but it's possible that my mother had a go at her.
I know, Louis. I found out that same evening. Well, thanks for not trying to hide it.
What? Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't know if I could trust you. Now I know
Tja.
I can.
Jetzt
It
weißt
seems
du's.
that your mother tricked Emma. She apparently asked her to hide an important book, so that even she wouldn't know where it was. And then she shot her like a dog to make sure no one would ever find it again.
Aus welchem Grund?
Why would she do that?
I
Ja.
don't know, Louis, but I'll find out. You can count on that.
I'm sincerely sorry, Emily.
Thank you, Louis.
Viel
But you do
trinken,
realize
Leute.
your mother will have to accept the consequences of her acts.
There must be an explanation, Emily.
That's what we shall see. Come, Louis. They're waiting for us.
You will pay dearly, Peru. I'm sure you were involved somewhere along the line.
That's right. Pretend you don't know. One piece of advice. Don't travel through France on your way back, or it'll cost you dearly.
Calm now, my friends. Let's calm down. Everyone seems to be a little unnecessarily heated. Don't forget where you are, please.
What's going on here exactly?
Sir Gregory called us together to introduce the last guest.
But hardly had we arrived when he set upon Monsieur Peru.
Der ist wer?
Who is this charming character?
Manuel Godoy, the Duke of La Alcudia.
He's the head of the Spanish government, Monsieur de Richet. He's the one who, in practice, controls Spain.
How could you dare do such a thing? Dios mío, you are all out of your minds!
Really, Duke Manuel? What made you kick up such a fuss?
What? Have you not heard? Well, let me inform you that yesterday morning at 10:22 a.m. precisely, in the middle of the Place de la Révolution in Paris, by decree of the National Convention which Monsieur Peru works for, King Louis was guillotined. What?
Oh, no.
The King of France is dead, gentlemen. Our monarchies are in danger. I have said it before. How dare they?
Oh, dear.
Oh, as if...
Friends, let us calm down.
Don't pretend to be surprised. He got a fair trial.
Ridiculous! Bastard! He was sentenced to death by 361 votes to 360. You beheaded a king for one vote! Is that your democracy?
What an obnoxious act. Until anything was possible. This political coup will have grave consequences.
France is lost.
Gentlemen, please. Let us take a step back a moment.
In the name of holiness. He was the highest representative of God in France, Emily.
Gentlemen, Duchess, we're all among people of reputable company here. We should be able to manage the conflicts of our nations in a respectful and orderly manner.
I fully agree with you, sir.
But
that's enough, sir.
With whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
Yuna'sDarkNexus.
Are you related to Sarah de Richet?
Sarah is his
Ja.
mother, Duke. Gentlemen, this news affects us all, but I must ask you to remain calm. It's not the first time history has taken us by surprise. Let's ensure that our respective countries are allowed to respond appropriately to this news.
Oh, rest assured. The response will not fall short, my friend.
Good for you. Well, Your Grace, here I was preparing to introduce you as is proper, and you've beaten me to it. I'm delighted that we are all together at last. Our meeting will therefore be able to kick off shortly. I have just a few more little preparations to take care of before you all find out the reason for your presence here. In the meantime, I shall leave you to get to know one another. When you hear the bell, please proceed to the conclave room on my left, behind that door. I'll see you later.
Ah ja. Naja, den einen oder anderen will ich gar nicht näher kennenlernen.
Could you spare a moment, please, sir?
I'm glad you asked. I want to talk to you, too. Of course.
Naturellement.
I heard about your mother's disappearance.
He looks concerned. I don't know why, but I doubt it's from sympathy alone. Well, let's see what he wants from me.
Any news of her? Have you found her, maybe?
Hear you speak, it sounds like you and my mother were close.
Let's say I hold your mother in high esteem, yes.
Uh-huh.
We were even planning to work together.
That's what he was getting at.
Did she tell you about our arrangement?
Absolutely, but I was hoping that you could tell me more about it.
Well, she was planning to sell me a very old book. I will make no secret of the fact that I am passionate about the subject. And when Sarah spoke to me about it, her account literally had me enthralled. I can think of nothing else since. You might have come across some old books in her belongings, perhaps?
Haben wir? Weiß ich jetzt gar nicht.
As my mother's got so many old books, I'm afraid I won't be able to...
Oh, it's easy. You can't mistake this one. It's an ancient grimoire, composed of 7 parts. Each one is closed under lock and key. It was made in such a way that if someone tried to tamper with it, the sheets would be permanently tarnished. If you find it, you mustn't tamper with it. You see?
That's unusual.
Gut zu wissen.
Unfortunately, that doesn't ring a bell.
Nicht
I'll look
wirklich.
again, but I wouldn't get my hopes up. You seem very upset. Is it so important to you, this book?
Well, it's the search of a lifetime. What can I say? Every time I move closer,
Also, wir dürfen auf keinen Fall versuchen, das aufzuwachen. Wenn wir das finden, sonst geht's kaputt.
I thought it was with a certain von Borchet in Paris. Do you know him?
Indeed. One of your close friends?
No, not really, but we were close once. Precisely over the case that concerns us now, because he claimed to have the book I'm looking for.
Another dishonest person. What can you say? Can't trust anyone these days, huh?
No, can't.
I hope I've been able to satisfy your curiosity, Mr. von Wollner, and that you succeed in finding what you're looking for.
Oh, and so do I.
And now, what if you told me who you really are working for, instead of keeping up this pretense?
I beg your pardon?
We both know what you're looking for, von Wollner. You're the one who von Burchert was planning to sell it to.
For centuries, all those who have come into contact with the Al-Azif have bitterly regretted it, Monsieur de Richet. You are playing a dangerous game. Please know that I am working for someone who does not appreciate anyone poking around in his business.
Let me guess.
Lord Mortimer.
Oh, you are way off the mark. There's nothing more for us to say. Goodbye.
Ja, ja. Einige der Namen kommen auch bei Gabriel Knight 3 vor. Da sitzt Napoleon in der Ecke. Gucken wir mal, ob der auch was zu sagen hat.
Monsieur Bonaparte, may I speak with you a moment?
May we?
Would you have any more information about the conference Lord Mortimer spoke of?
Nothing at all. Mortimer is very committed to secrecy when it comes to his conferences. But given the presence of Monsieur Peru and ourselves, I think it must concern France to some extent. Otherwise, I doubt he would have invited 3 Frenchmen to his table, huh?
Dum, dum, dum,
Does expression go beyond the nightmare mean anything to you at all?
Well, metaphorically, yes. It sums up the career of a soldier quite well. I doubt that is what you want to hear, though.
Indeed. That's surely not what I'm looking for.
Well, monsieur, if you are looking for a phrase book, Lord Mortimer must surely have one, given the number of books he has. You ought to check in the library of the tower. You never know.
What do you think of Duke Godoy?
Well, I'd rather not express any opinion of him.
Why is that?
His reputation is enough for me.
Meaning?
This gentleman enjoys people talking about him for too many reasons. His undeserved titles, more than 10 in just 4 years, and each one more prestigious than the one before.
You don't think he deserves them?
If I had seen him on the battlefield, there might be some doubt. But that is not the case. The Queen would rather not risk losing him, so she consoles him with awards and titles.
So you don't have a very positive opinion?
His coveting French Catalonia does not encourage me to have one.
I understand your point of view.
Über die Konferenz haben wir schon gesprochen.
Would you have any more information about the conference Lord Mortimer spoke of?
Nothing at all. Mortimer is very committed to secrecy when it comes to his conferences. But given the presence of Monsieur Peru and ourselves, I think it must concern France to some extent. Otherwise, I doubt he would have invited 3 Frenchmen to his table, huh?
3 Frenchmen?
Well, I'll be leaving you now. Shall we meet up again later?
Wait, monsieur. Any news of your mother?
Unfortunately not, no.
I hope to speak with her about my deal before I leave. Let me know if you find her. À plus tard, monsieur.
Ja, ja. Au revoir. So, was haben wir denn hier noch? Vielleicht liegt hier noch was. Sammlermünzen. Da geht's auch raus.
Hey, these look like pages taken from an ancient encyclopedia. Chronicles of the Amber Princes. As I recall, Dorkin was my favorite character.
Der Bernsteinprinz.
There's a pattern with 5 circles on this chest.
Irgendeinen Schlüssel haben wir ja vorhin gefunden. Aber...
Honey, the remedy of the gods.
What can I do for you, sir? I am at your service, day and night, sir.
Das freut mich. Ich glaube, das haben wir alles schon mal mit dem besprochen. Juhu.
Go beyond the nightmare. Does this line remind you of anything in particular?
You've caught me unaware here, Louis. Let me think about it a second. No, nothing comes to mind. Sorry, Louis, but I am unable to help you.
Mr. President, what do you think about your counterpart, Duke Manuel?
I'm very surprised he was able to accept Lord Mortimer's invitation, given the political situation in Spain.
What do you mean?
The situation is ready to explode with France over Catalonia.
Well, the Duke must have a darn good reason to be absent and come here, mustn't he?
Offensichtlich.
When Lord Mortimer invites you, Louis, you come. It's always in your best interest.
I wouldn't say that personally, but... Mr. President, can you tell me a little more about the coming conference?
Of course, Louis. That's why we're here. Lord Mortimer or Sir Gregory regularly organize meetings like this to put forward major projects.
What do you mean by major projects?
I'd prefer to let Lord Mortimer explain that to you, Louis. Let's say he brings together influential people in order to consider possible actions to undertake to guarantee the future of nations.
Do you know the theme of the conference?
Not in the slightest. None of the guests know the theme before arriving. But you'll see, everything will turn out fine. Don't worry.
Well, thank you for your time.
Don't mention it, my young friend. Regarding your question on the nightmare, don't hesitate to question the others about it. Maybe one of them knows more than I do.
That's a good idea. Thank you once again. I'll see you in a little bit.
Hier sind immer Geräusche, als wäre man auf einem Schiff, ey. Nice.
The Conversion of Ulysses by Gors. Circe changing Ulysses' companions into swines. Discourse on the Method by Descartes. This book changed the way I looked at the world.
Was machen die Schmetterlinge denn hier drin?
Circe preparing wine. What better trap for Ulysses? Romney painted Lady Hamilton as Circe.
Aha. Na?
A swine in a salon. That's an odd choice of decor.
Ah, Louis. Just the man. Good Lord. How did the king come to be executed?
Ja, das frage ich mich auch.
I would think that the order would have intervened.
Tja, ich würde sagen, der hat es ein bisschen drauf angelegt.
I haven't been following the case. I'm sure that the order did everything in its power. Unfortunately, you know the situation in Paris, and, well, it's chaotic at best. Anything can happen in those revolutionary tribunals.
The king is the official representative of God on earth, my son.
Your Eminence, France has become a secular state. The king was just another citizen to them. He refused to admit his errors, looked down upon them, and attempted to escape. What did he expect?
France has lost all reason, Louis.
I invite you to speak about it with my mother as soon as she reappears.
Is there any news of her?
Well, I hope it won't be long
Noch
before I find
nicht.
her, Your Eminence.
Now you wanted to speak to me.
Ja, ja. Genau.
If I say the nightmare to you, does it make you think of anything?
Your question is strange, my son. Difficult to say. Could you at least tell me a little more about the context?
A little more, ja.
Think of a place and tell me the first thing that comes into your mind when I say the nightmare.
Let me think. I'd say Lord Mortimer's favorite painting on the wall behind his desk. You know, that painting caused quite a stir when it was exhibited. It is titled The Nightmare, and it shows a woman lying down with a creature sitting on her, and in the background, a horse. I don't know if it will be of any help, but I can't think of anything else.
You never know. Thank you for that, though, Your Eminence. I gotta go and see it just in case, though. I was wondering what to think of that Manuel Godoy.
He is reputed to be a very ambitious character, at every level. But his faith is unwavering. He is a staunch defender of the Church. You can believe me.
I'm sure a man like you is in the circle of trust. Would you know what the conference that Lord Mortimer mentioned is going to be about?
Not really, my son. Well, be it Lord Mortimer or Sir Gregory, we are never informed about the theme of the conference before it begins.
Thank you for everything, Your Eminence. I shan't take up any more of your time.
You are welcome, my son. I will be seeing you, Louis.
The lock is surrounded by a triple circle.
Boah, für irgendeine Schachtel muss der Schlüssel, den wir gefunden haben, doch sein. Ich will auch so eine Bücherei. Ja, bisschen das Ambiente genießen, ne?
Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci.
The last day before his crucifixion, Jesus announces that he will be betrayed by one of his disciples. There's the alchemical symbol of the earth on the lid.
Ja, brauchen wir immer noch einen Schlüssel. 2 Schlüssel, ey. Die Kunst des Schlossschmieds.
Pound.
Aha. Okay, das ist also diese kleine Treppe. So, wer ist hier drin? Herrn von Wollner, können wir nicht rein. Okay.
So, what did my mother mean by going beyond the nightmare?
Was ist das für ein Loch? Was geht hier ab? Schmeißt Lord Mortimer hier seine nicht mehr Freunde rein oder so? Warum hat man so ein riesiges Loch in seinem Haus?
The Book of the Mortimer family.
Aha. Warum können wir da nicht drin lesen?
The Mortimer family.
A devil's thorn, to be used to uncover the best disguised traits.
Might come in handy.
No, what have we got here? Well, it looks like a model of a lock. It's as if Mortimer is fond of complicating things sometimes. Well, I hope I never have to try and unlock it. Let's take a closer look. These chocolates are probably a protocol gift. Everybody in Europe loves them nowadays. Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France, has her own personal chocolate maker at Versailles.
Tja, Marie Antoinette ist aber jetzt auch bald tot, wenn König Louis schon tot ist.
If I remember rightly. I would be surprised if Mortimer has them delivered straight from South America. Dark chocolate beans. Very bitter. They're greatly prized in high society. A mynah bird.
Na, Harry.
Well, Waldo, is your master good?
Ich habe Angst, dass der Vogel tot umkippt, wenn wir auf Vogel füttern gehen.
Sarah de Riche? Waldo, you know Sarah?
Steht hier denn auch Vogelfutter? Ah, das war das Bild, wovon der Kardinal gesprochen hat.
The nightmare painted by Fuseli in 1781. Ah, this must be what my mother was talking about. I just need to find out what she meant by go beyond. Hey, looks like it's mounted on rails on each side. It should lift up, I think. There must be a mechanism somewhere. The nightmare painted by Fuseli in 1781. Ah, this must be what my mother was talking about. I just need to find out what she meant by go beyond. Hey, looks like it's mounted on rails on each side. It should lift up, I think. There must be a mechanism somewhere. No, what have we got here? Well, it looks like a model of a lock. It's as if Mortimer is fond of complicating things sometimes.
Oh.
Aha, I found it. Oh, what on earth is this? A ring lock now? Great. That's all I needed.
Ja, genau. Das hat uns gerade noch gefehlt.
A mynah bird. Tell me the door code. Here I am talking to a bird. Shame on me.
Hätte ja sein können.
Sarah de Riche? Waldo, you know Sarah? What? Repeat that, Waldo. Sarah? What about Sarah? Good God, what's been happening here?
Also irgendwas ist da passiert. Okay.
Seems to be the list of grants and sponsorships given by the Mortimer family. In 1645, the Mortimer family allocated a pension to be passed down the generations to the Nérac family from Bordeaux, shipowners and refiners from father to son, a family known for their expeditions to Africa and America. Golden Triangle. That means they got rich on the backs of African slaves. In 1489, the Mortimer family participates in the purchase of the Caravel Santa Clara from Juan Niño, shipowner on behalf of Don Luis de la Cerda. The vessel will be renamed La Niña. In 1567, the Mortimer family financed the brickworks in Qinhongdao in China, fitted out with 51 furnaces 3,5 meters high.
Mortimer, der klingt schon so nach Devil, der Typ. Der hängt überall mit drin, dem seine Familie hat überall mit drin gehangen. Was ist da los, ey?
I bet that brickworks helped maintain the Great Wall.
Bestimmt.
From 1235 to 1280, the Mortimer family granted an annual pension to Albert the Great, Archbishop of Regensburg, in order to fund his research in the writing of De Mirabilibus Munci, books about the wonders of the world. Let's not forget it recorded the recipe for gunpowder in the form of an anagram. They democratized firearms in Europe, no less.
Geht ja immer weiter.
In 1550, the Mortimer family financed half of the construction of St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow by way of protocol gift from Ivan IV Vasilievich, one of the most beautiful religious buildings ever built. Ivan Vasilievich, sadly named Ivan the Terrible, who owes his nickname to the terror he imposed on his empire. In 1635, the Mortimer family sponsored the Academy of Mersenne for 30 years in Paris for works in the sciences and in philosophy. That was generous, but not entirely selfless when you think about Blaise Pascal, who developed the first calculating machine at the same time. In 1772, Lord Mortimer made a donation of £112,000 to the attention of Achille Basmarin, a major ship owner of Bordeaux, for the construction of a ship, the Clary. From 1685 to 1720, the Mortimer family allocated an annual pension to Denis Papin for his brilliant works in pneumatics and hydraulics. That reminds me of spectacular experiments such as his first submarine, which didn't end all that well if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the family tree. Let's see. All Mortimer's ancestors are called William something Mortimer. That happens a lot in noble families, but here it's systematic. Not a single generation ever breaks the custom. Looks like this family is very attached to their principles. Let's see. All Mortimer's ancestors are called William something Mortimer. That happens a lot in noble families, but here it's systematic. Not a single generation ever breaks the custom.
Ja, weil es immer derselbe Typ ist. Ich sage es euch. Es ist immer der gleiche, so wie der Teufel.
Mortimer, lover of the arts and the sciences, he took up politics at an early age. After rapidly becoming influential, he decides to retire from public life in order to organize conferences reserved for the elite with the aim of finding answers to world problems. Blah, blah, blah. He's also an only son, and the book doesn't mention any known descendant. The first William Alexander Mortimer. He was born in 1131 and distinguished himself during the Third Crusade, during which he rubbed shoulders with Richard the Lionheart. He showed outstanding bravery during the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre. He died in 1211 in the country of Westford at the age of 80. What longevity. Nice. Nothing is mentioned about his wife. The direct descendant of William Alexander Mortimer I was born in 1195 on his father's return from the crusade. Only son, more discreet than his father, it states that he was widely traveled. He produced only one descendant, named William Michael Mortimer. He died in 1275. There's no chapter dedicated to his mother. All right. For one, the women of the lineage are not mentioned at all. What a cavalier attitude. Right. Let's see. Who else is there? All the descendants are called William Mortimer. And only male descendants. All of them only sons. Strange. It was uncommon to have only one child in those days, let alone all only sons. How is that possible? It really makes you wonder if all those sons really are official descendants. I'm smelling something shady here.
Definitiv.
Only son, a descendant with a singular name. He also took a wife and had only one child, named William again. Another at random. William Mortimer again. Only son, him too. Born in 1573 and died in 1665. Mortimers lived to a ripe old age, that's for sure. Discreet again. The summary states that he was an excellent merchant, and that towards the end of his life, he entered politics? All the descendants are called William Mortimer. There have been only male descendants. All of them only sons. Strange. It was uncommon to have only one child in those days, let alone all only sons. How was that possible?
really makes you wonder if all those sons really are official
Oder ob es immer nur ein Typ
Smelling
war.
something shady here.
Genau.
Lord William Alexander Mortimer, lover of the arts and the sciences, he took up politics at an early age. After rapidly becoming influential, he decides to retire from public life in order to organize conferences reserved for the elite with the aim of finding answers to world problems. Blah, blah, blah. He's also an only son, and the book doesn't mention any known descendant.
Dankeschön.
Looks like there's a marker on number 1 on the second roller. Open sesame.
Hätte ich jetzt nicht gedacht. Hoffentlich kommen wir da auch wieder raus, ey. Auf wei, oh wei. Wir sind in Lord Mortimers Hexenküche.
Let's see what you've been hiding, Lord Mortimer.
Sehr geehrter Lord Mortimer, mit diesem Brief möchte ich Sie bitten, Präsident Washington davon zu überzeugen, den Fugitive Slave Act in seiner jetzigen Form nicht zu unterzeichnen. Alle Aspekte, die mit der Sklaverei zu tun haben, müssen wir unbedingt auf nationaler Ebene in Angriff nehmen und dürfen nicht zulassen, dass einzelne Bundesstaaten ihr eigenes Süppchen kochen. Wer hat das geschrieben? John Adams. Das Gesetz war ursprünglich zur Beilegung eines Konflikts zwischen Pennsylvania und Virginia gedacht.
Weakness of the Human Psyche by Guillaume Trimore. He says, it is possible to drill an idea into someone by constant daily repetition until the mind gives in. And goes on, there are hundreds of good ways to live life, but you only need one to convince the masses that it's the only one possible. The author isn't letting any ethical principles get in his way, is he? Some of those forces are pushing toward the west. On it, Mortimer's placed little feather symbols at different points, toward which the Spanish are headed. Could he be fueling Indian resistance to slow down Spain?
Da kann man echt noch eine Menge über Geschichte lernen.
shows the forces present in America.
Irgendwie wirkt das, als wäre das für uns da.
I've picked up her trail. What is she up to? Obviously, she wants to lure Mortimer somewhere, but where? The only clue she's left for Mortimer is his stone sword. It must be intentional. It looks like a decorative sword, like from a statue, for example. And judging by the state of it, I'm guessing it's been left outside for a long time. I have absolutely got to find out where it came from.
Finden wir raus.
Golden elixir. Looks like a campaign is being prepared in France in favor of Italy. Could Mortimer have decided to finance a war? It shows the forces present in Europe. It's clear that France is surrounded by her enemies. However, a large number has been underlined in bold. 26 million. I know what it is. It's an estimation of my country's population. All our neighbors have far fewer inhabitants.
A devil's thorn can be used to uncover the best disguised traits.
It's locked.
Offensichtlich. Da muss ja was sehr Wertvolles hinter sein. Bei dem Gitter, was davor ist. Thomas Jefferson.
A table of alchemical elements. So, Lord Mortimer also studies alchemy? It seems like he's interested in everything.
Ja, weil er der Teufel ist. Ich bin überzeugt davon, dass es der Teufel.
A chest with a motif representing the alchemical symbol of fire.
Wie üblich haben wir natürlich keinen Schlüssel.
Carmelite water. Am I seeing things, or is that an actual von Leeuwenhoek microscope? Incredible. Mortimer really is at the cutting edge of science. Even at the Order, it took us ages to get one of those. Three rusty old nails. They're about 20 centimeters long.
Rostige alte Nägel. Wer weiß, die sind bestimmt vom Jesu-Kreuz, ey.
Some goat skulls, chicken legs. Now we all know what that's for. I'm a
Ja.
little surprised at Mortimer. And it seemed as the type to be organizing little pagan parties, invoking occult powers, and dancing naked under the full moon. I'm more used to seeing cheap charms like this sold by charlatans in Pré Saint-Gervais. Look, a pack of tarot cards. Has he been reading the cards? Mortimer? That would surprise me. It is a typical draw on a line that answers a specific question. To the left, Temperance, that announces a reward for one who patiently waits before taking any action. And in the middle, the Chariot, which symbolizes triumph and business success. To the right, the Emperor evokes a future full of power and stability.
Der Tiger liegt im Sterben.
An iron mask. I wonder who it's for.
Das ist nicht die Nachtwache, das Bild. Ich meine, das heißt so, oder?
That must be for writing the homing pigeon messages. They're feathers. Pigeon, probably. A skeleton by the name of Gustav, if the plaque on the plinth is anything to go by. Mortimer's given a name to his anatomy skeleton. That's morbid. Oh, his right hand is missing. Looks like obsidian or onyx. Must weigh a ton. Something strange about this table. Little Surgeon's perfect collection. Something strange about this table. Preservation using formaldehyde. Just as disgusting as ever. Three rusty old nails. They're about 20 centimeters long. Oh, shit. How am I gonna get out of here now? This looks like the same mechanism as the one on the other side. Whoa, whoa. The grid closes a bit more every time I enter a wrong date. I'd better not mess up again. These cylinders are driving me crazy. I got something wrong with my positioning? This looks like the same mechanism as the one on the other side. Looks like the same as the one on the other side.
Das ist so eine 6, oder? Aber dann ist der hier doch auf dem Kopf, hä?
This looks like the same mechanism as the one on the other side. Well, better not dwell on it then.
Auf jeden Fall. Trotzdem wüsste ich gerne, was das hier für ein tiefes Loch ist.
This note is about a meeting with Lord Mortimer.
There's no doubt about it.
All right, I need to find out where the sword that came with it is from in order to find Mother.
Okay, also, wir müssen die Statue finden, zu der das Steinschwert gehört.
You're joking, I hope. Don't tell me you've done that.
Really? How do you expect me to guess?
Oh, for God's sake, just ask them. We must absolutely inform Sir Gregory. How long has he been trying to collect all the spears?
I must have brought him the first one 20-odd years ago.
Do you know if he has managed to get the original?
Well, in any case, he's got all the ones we had at the Vatican. He made me replace them with copies. But I don't understand your reaction. I'm sure it is nothing serious.
I can see very well you do not understand. You have done nothing less than sign our death warrants, and still you don't understand.
Someone is listening.
What? Monsieur de Richet, why not join us rather than find yourself eavesdropping? Well,
Frechheit.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Of course you didn't. So, my son, what can we do for you?
I didn't mean to spy on you, but you caught my attention.
Ja, ja.
Have you brought spears as well, then?
What? Did Mortimer ask you to bring him holy spears too?
Yes, but I thought I was the only one. How many of them have you brought, then?
18 in all. Any relic even remotely to do with them, in fact.
18 spears? How many of them exist in all?
No one knows. Especially as there is only one authentic one, of course. That all adds to the mystery, don't you think?
Well, please leave us, monsieur. His Eminence and I wish to finish our discussion alone.
I am sorry, sir, but the conference room is under preparation and is consequently inaccessible to guests.
Mm-hmm.
Could you perhaps help me?
What can I do for you, sir?
Where did this sword come from?
From the garden, sir. That sword belongs to one of the statues in the garden.
Thank you very much.
Don't mention it, sir.
Okay, wie kommen wir in den Garten?
Sword probably came from this garden, but what could it have been used for? Golden elixir. Great. Honey.
Oha.
Well, Monsieur de Richet, what brings you here?
I tell you what I'm looking for, Monsieur Peru. Will you promise to keep it to yourself?
Hell no. And anybody who gives you a promise like that is an unmitigated liar. Trust no one, Monsieur de Richet, or you'll soon be a dead man. I bid you good luck. You'll need it.
Was eine Arschgeige.
Ariadne. In Greek mythology, she helped Theseus get through the labyrinth.
Okay.
Looks like there's a crack in the region of the heart. If I recall the Iliad, Ariadne is none other than the daughter of Minos and Pasiphae. She was in love with Theseus and helped him in his quest to kill the Minotaur in return for a promise of marriage, if he defeated the monster. She gave him a reel of thread so that he could find his way back through the labyrinth, which was famous for being unsolvable. But once the beast was slain, the gallant was quick to abandon her on an island. Turns out heroes are not what they once were. Let's see. What's going to happen if I've got it wrong? Ariadne. In Greek mythology, Ariadne helped Theseus out of the labyrinth.
Ach, jetzt hast du das Schwert da vorne drin gelassen.
Icarus. Son of Daedalus and Nocrate. Impossible to mistake him with those wings. After flying too close to the sun, they came unstuck and he fell to his death. Pity. Hey, there's no crack here. Well, let's keep going.
Hä?
Carmelite water. They say that if you drink this, it gives you a real boost. Ariadne. Try something else. Theseus, son of Aegeus. He's the one who slayed the Minotaur. I seem to recall he took the decision to confront the Minotaur. He killed the beast, but if it weren't for Ariadne's help, he would have been trapped in that labyrinth forever. In short, yet another hero who wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. Okay. I'm probably being a bit harsh. I mean, we do owe him the foundations of Athens. In other words, the Republic. Render therefore unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Looks like a crack has been made on his torso. Theseus. I seem to recall he took the decision to confront the Minotaur. He killed the beast, but if it weren't for Ariadne's help, he would have been trapped in that labyrinth forever. He's the son of Aegeus. He became the mythical king of Athens, the unifying king. Pity, he's generally only remembered for having slayed the Minotaur. I wonder if Mother managed to solve this enigma. Minos, son of Zeus and Europa. If I remember correctly, he was the king of Crete. Married to Pasiphae, he had many children, including the famous Ariadne, whom history remembers for her thread. Hey, there's a crack in that statue. In mythology, King Minos was known as a wise and just king, despite the fact that he deceived Poseidon. As punishment, his country was devastated by the white bull of the sea god, and his wife became passionately in love with it. From their union, Asterion was born, sadly known to us as the Minotaur. The illegitimate child, the child of shame, who had a sorry fate. And to think that Minos ended up as a judge of the underworld. Decidedly, the high and mighty always managed to get away with it. Theseus. Let's try something else instead. Minos. The crack is in the region of the heart.
Aber das scheint ja auch nicht richtig zu sein, denn dann wäre ja irgendwas passiert.
Minos. Asterion. It is rare to see him like this. In general, he's represented with the head of a bull, with the features of the Minotaur.
The famous son of Minos in Pasiphae.
Okay, vielleicht ist er derjenige, wo das Schwert rein muss.
The statue has a crack in it. Right. We'll soon see.
Ja.
Asterion.
Oder ist das Einzige,
Asterion was the son of Pasiphae and Minos.
was Sinn
Or
macht?
rather the result of a curse put on Minos. Minos was punished for betraying Poseidon. Of course, as strangely it often happens, it wasn't he who was punished, it was his wife. She had to mate with a bull, no less. From that union, Asterion was born, who everyone knows as the famous Minotaur. Rejected by Minos, he was shut up in the labyrinth so he could never leave. And, as if that wasn't bad enough, he died by the hand of a hero desperate to restore his reputation. Technically, Asterion is the victim of the story because he's described as a child cast out from Earth. Born from an extramarital union because of the errors of his father, he was treated as an outcast all his life. And he died as innocently as he was born. A tragic story, as the Greeks knew how to do so well. Asterion, son of Minos and Pasiphae. Asterion, who had such a sad fate and who the legend portrays as the horrible Minotaur.
Ich hätte jetzt wirklich gedacht, da ist das Schwert an der richtigen Stelle. Ein Faden. Ein Faden.
Daedalus. He's the architect of the labyrinth, and if I'm not mistaken, he's also the father of Icarus. Hey, there's a crack in this statue too. Daedalus. If I remember rightly, he's the one who built the labyrinth for Minos. All right, let's try again. You never know.
Ja, auf jeden Fall.
Pasiphae, daughter of Perseus and sister of Circe. She married Minos and became the queen of Crete. I seem to recall that her fate was not something you'd want. She was punished for the sins of her husband. She had to mate with the sacred bull of Poseidon. 9 months later, she gave birth to Asterion, better known as the Minotaur. It's crazy to see to what extent women have always been mistreated. When they're not harpies, gorgons, and other witches, they become victims. She has no cracks.
Okay.
All right, well, let's continue anyways. I wonder what this kiosk is doing in the middle of the garden. Too cramped to be able to do much. Well, there must be something going on there. It's up to the just to deliver judgment. Truth unlocks all possibilities. It looks like this slab moves. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a passageway underneath it.
Ja.
What is that? It's like a sort of opening mechanism. Knowing Mortimer, I bet it's booby-trapped. There's a little hole at the fingers. I'm pretty sure if I get it wrong, I'll get pricked. Damn you, Mortimer. Reminds me of traps I studied in Egyptian tombs. Knowing Mortimer, I bet it's booby-trapped. There's a little hole at the fingers. I'm pretty sure if I get it wrong, I'll get pricked. Damn you, Mortimer. Reminds me of traps I studied in Egyptian tombs. Knowing Mortimer, I bet it's booby-trapped. There's a little hole at the fingers. I'm pretty sure if I get it wrong, I'll get pricked.
Ich
Damn
habe
you,
bei beiden
Mortimer.
Sachen
Reminds me
dasselbe.
of traps I studied in Egyptian tombs. Daedalus.
Daedalus.
Minos. The crack is in the region of the heart. Minos. In mythology, King Minos was known as a wise and
Gerecht.
just king,
Gerecht.
despite the fact that he deceived Poseidon. As punishment, his country was devastated by the white bull of the sea god, and his wife became passionately in love with it. From their union, Asterion was born, sadly known to us as the Minotaur. The illegitimate child, the child of shame, who had a sorry fate.
Whoa. Again?
You can't be serious, Manuel. You know that's not going to happen.
What?
You must leave me alone now. I have agreed to everything. Even to...
Agreed? I wasn't aware you had a choice.
What's going on here?
What now? What else must I do to win back my freedom?
Obey me. Now get out!
What was that? That's the third time in 3 days. Let's see if you're in there, Mother.
Blut.
Amber crystals. Bandages? Someone's been patching themselves up. Looks like my mother took advantage of being in hiding to change her bandages, huh? This is silk. She must have used her own clothes. There are patches where the blood isn't totally clotted. That's a good sign, right? She changed them recently, which proves she's still looking after herself and still believes in her chances. Well, I'd love to tell her to keep hanging in there. Damn it, Mother. Now what's happened?
Don't move! Wait, I'm not armed.
Who are you?
Good God, Mother, what have you...
Tell me who you are.
Aua. Die erkennt uns nicht. Tja. Lecco mio, ganz schön viel Input. Die Frage, die ich mir stelle, ist, wieso erkennt die uns denn nicht mehr? Sehr merkwürdig. Dann noch gucken. So, dann. Das war's für heute, liebe Leute. Schlaft gut und bleibt mysteriös. Bis zum nächsten Teil.